Okay, so we have been looking, when I've been here, at the book of Daniel, and so I'd like to continue that this morning. So we're in Daniel chapter 4. Daniel chapter 4, and just by way of reminder, we're considering what it was like for Daniel and his friends to be carried away to Babylon. At the beginning, the opening of the book, it says that King Nebuchadnezzar besieged Jerusalem. It's just a very quick statement, but carried a lot of history and a lot of details that we don't get in this account. That the Solomon's temple was destroyed when he besieged Jerusalem. The very seat and visual representation of the presence of God among his people. And no doubt they saw friends, family members perhaps killed during this, also taken captive. And so they were taken into a foreign country, a place that was opposed against what they knew to be true, especially about the living God. And they lost their freedom. They tried to change their identity, their very names, and how they interacted with the world. And so they were forced to serve in the government and never to return home again. And that is the situation in which they found themselves. Of course, Babylon was the first real world empire that we know about in world history, and made many contributions to the world that we still use today. If you know how to read time or tell time, you can thank the Babylonians. If you know anything about geometry, thank the Babylonians. And lots of contributions to culture as well. So that's just a little bit of a general recap. And so we'll come to chapter 4 here, and we're going to read in verse 1. It says, Nebuchadnezzar the king, to all peoples, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied to you. I thought it good to declare the signs and wonders that the Most High God has worked for me. How great are his signs, and how mighty his wonders! His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in my house and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts on my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore I issued a decree to bring all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known to me the interpretation of the dream. Then the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers came in, and I told them the dream, but they did not make known to me its interpretation. But at last Daniel came before me. His name is Belteshazzar, according to the name of my God. In him is the spirit of the holy God. And I told the dream before him, saying, Belteshazzar, chief of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy God is in you, and no secret troubles you, explain to me the visions of my dream that I have seen, and its interpretation. These were the visions of my head while on my bed. I was looking, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and its height was great. The tree grew and became strong. Its height reached to the heavens, and it could be seen to the ends of all the earth. Its leaves were lovely, its fruit abundant, and it was food for all. The beasts of the field found shade under it. The birds of the heavens dwelt in its branches, and all flesh was fed from it. I saw in the visions of my head while on my bed, and there was a watcher, a holy one, coming down from heaven. He cried aloud and said thus, Chop down the tree and cut off its branches. Strip off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the beasts get out from under it, and the birds from its branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump and roots in the earth, bound with a band of iron and bronze, in the tender grass of the field. Let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let him graze with the beasts on the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from that of a man. Let him be given the heart of a beast, and let 7 times pass over him. This decision is by the decree of the watchers, and the sentence by the word of the holy ones, in order that the living may know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men. He gives it to whomever he will, and sets over it the lowest of men. This dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now you, Belteshazzar, declare its interpretation, since all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known to me the interpretation. But you are able, for the Spirit of the Holy God is in you. Then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was astonished for a time, and his thoughts troubled him. So the king spoke and said, Belteshazzar, do not let the dream or its interpretation trouble you. Belteshazzar answered and said, My lord, may the dream concern those who hate you, and its interpretation concern your enemies. The tree that you saw, which grew and became strong, whose height reached to the heavens, and which could be seen by all the earth, whose leaves were lovely and its fruit abundant, and which was food for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and in whose branches the birds of the heaven had their home. It is you, O king, who have grown and become strong, for your greatness has grown and reaches to the heavens, and your dominion to the end of the earth. And inasmuch as the king saw a watcher, a holy one, coming down from heaven, and saying, Chop down the tree and destroy it, but leave its stump and roots in the earth, bound with a band of iron and bronze in the tender grass of the field. Let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let him graze with the beasts of the field, till 7 times pass over him. This is the interpretation, O king, and this is the decree of the Most High, which has come upon my lord the king. They shall drive you from men. Your dwelling will be with the beast of the field, and they shall make you eat grass like oxen. They shall wet you with the dew of the heaven, and 7 times shall pass over you, till you know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men, and gives it to whomever he chooses. And inasmuch as they gave the command to leave the stump and the roots of the tree, your kingdom shall be assured to you after you come to know that heaven rules. Therefore, O king, let my advice be acceptable to you. Break off your sins by being righteous, and your iniquities by showing mercy to the poor. Perhaps there may be a lengthening of your prosperity. All this came upon King Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of the 12 months he was walking about the royal palace of Babylon. The king spoke, saying, Is not this great Babylon that I have built for a royal dwelling by my mighty power, and for the honor of my majesty? While the word was still in the king's mouth, a voice fell from heaven. King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken. The kingdom has departed from you, and they shall drive you from men, and your dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make you eat grass like oxen, and 7 times shall pass over you, until you know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men, and gives it to whomever he chooses. That very hour the word was fulfilled concerning Nebuchadnezzar. He was driven from men and ate grass like oxen. His body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hair had grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like bird's claws. And at the end of the time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to heaven, and my understanding returned to me, and I blessed the Most High, and praised and honored him who lives forever. For his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing. He does according to his will in the army of heaven. And among the inhabitants of the earth no one can restrain his hand, or say to him, What have you done? At the same time my reason returned to me, and for the glory of my kingdom my honor and splendor returned to me. My counselors and nobles resorted to me. I was restored to my kingdom, and excellent majesty was added to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven. all of whose works are truth, and his ways justice, and those who walk in pride he is able to put down. It's not often that we read 37 verses in a message, but I think it's important for us to get the whole context of the chapter that we're going to look at. I have not been going verse by verse through these chapters, but trying to highlight some things that I've noticed, and perhaps to direct our thoughts in a certain way, and hopefully it causes you to think. Hopefully it whets your appetite for you to go back and to look at these chapters and see what the Lord might have for you to learn further. So the king has another dream. And if you remember, the first dream alarmed him, very much so. This dream alarmed him as well. But perhaps, I don't know why, but maybe he didn't see it as an ominous thing. But in describing the dream, he describes the tree, and he mentions how the tree looks, its height, its beauty. And of course, I think you would probably say that's the natural way that you would describe something. You would first describe what you observe, what you see with your eyes. But I think that it highlights the concept of beauty, and that is an important thing to the living God. And when we go back to Genesis chapter 2, it says that the Lord caused trees to grow, and the first thing that is mentioned is that every tree was pleasing to the sight, and that they were good for food. So the idea, again, that which is beautiful is important to God. It's not something that has no value. It's a part of how God has designed and created us. And it seems as though the king had tremendous regard for how things looked. You think about how when he captured the youth from Jerusalem, and it was the royalty, the nobles, the very intelligent, young, and handsome. Right? They could have checked all the other boxes, but if they weren't found to be handsome, and I don't know what their what their description of handsome would have been, but if they weren't handsome, they would not have been brought back to Babylon. That was one of the things that they had to be. Perhaps because Nebuchadnezzar's plan was to send them to the University of Babylon, train for 3 years, and put them in places of authority in the government. And so they would be representing him, representing Babylon, the great Babylon. They had to look the part as well. That was very important to him. And you think about the statue that he erected. It was quite the spectacle. Of course, projecting a beautiful image, perhaps not only of the kingdom of Babylon, but of the king himself. Image was very important. And I think it doesn't take much of a stretch in thinking to notice that he had things completely out of balance. Now, that doesn't mean that he wasn't smart or intelligent. I think he probably was a very intelligent person. I don't think you are at the top of the food chain in the first world empire, the most powerful kingdom on the planet at the time, the most powerful, influential man on the planet at the time, if you don't have tremendous intellect. So he certainly was a smart man, but he had things flipped around. Too much emphasis on image, too much emphasis on beauty, too much emphasis on how other people perceived him. And I think this can get us into trouble as well, can't it? Getting it out of balance, worried about what other people think about us. In a consumer culture where we're bombarded with products and services to aid us in our life. We often see the messaging that says, if you have this thing or use this product or sign up for this coaching, your life will be better. Will solve the problems. And it's dressed up to look like the most beautiful thing in the world, right? Here's just a couple of, because you're worth it, I don't know which brand that is, but that was, their catchphrase. Why do you need our makeup products? Because you're worth it, right? You deserve this. You've earned it. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. Oh, she's so beautiful. Well, she got natural beauty. Or it could just be our makeup products, right? And you can have it too. You can look just like her if you just buy our brand of makeup. Oh, yeah. Lots of guys are falling for this too, right? This is a body spray, and I don't even know what that warning sign is, but the implication is that if you use this body spray, you're gonna have women just falling over themselves to get to you, right? And of course that's what you want, so just spray this stuff on. Don't be shy with it. Spray it all over. Spray it for 10 minutes. They don't say that, but it seems like that's the message some guys get. And it's the promise that they will just be irresistible. In the States, health insurance, right? And this is the one I always think about. The beautiful family, they're enjoying their nice day, poking their head out from the tent. Life's just beautiful. What, don't you want your family to enjoy times like this and just everything be hunky-dory? It can be if you buy this health insurance, right? That's the message that we're getting. And really, and I'm not faulting them for this, because that's a great way to advertise your product. It's not necessarily to show the product, but to show what the results of the product can be. But this message was crafted in the garden, wasn't it? That here's something that you need, you deserve it. God's not providing it for you. He's holding out on you. Oh, he doesn't want you to have it because he knows how good it is for you. And Eve saw that the tree was good for food. Of course, the world of advertising and online world is presenting the best possible version of whatever it is. Certainly in the online world, there's very real dangers that lurk there. Sometimes one click away from catastrophe. Some people get very caught up in the virtual world. They create virtual spaces and sometimes not really caring for life in real life. AI, and I believe there's a place for it. There are many benefits that can come from it, but just like with many tools, there's a lot of ways in which it can go wrong. And it's speeding towards worlds and relationships that purely target outward beauty and instant gratification. I heard this statistic the other week that it was, and I don't know what the age group, it was young people, but some 85% of young people had said that they had a relation with AI, a relationship. So through chat or through whatever it was, they had a relationship with artificial intelligence. And some people prefer that. And I think that's a very dangerous direction to go. Some people prefer their virtual worlds over the real world. Now, Some people have caught on to the messaging, right? And they mock it. L'Oreal, because you're worth it, the lion with the big mane. Maybe she's Barn with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. Wash away your insecurity, right? Some people are picking up on that. They see through the messaging. I don't even remember why I put Almost Pizza on there, but that was a spoof on, this pizza in a box can be just as tasty as if you made it from scratch. It's a lie. And so some people are picking up on that, but we see that the king was consumed with his own image, his own grandeur. He did not recognize any standard above his own. And he had been getting messages. He had been receiving visions from the living God that were interpreted for him. But he didn't recognize any standard above his own. He did what he wanted and gave no thought to its morality. He didn't think about whether it was right or wrong. And as a king, it seems he had no regard for the poor. We see that later in the chapter that we read. So the Lord saw fit to humble him. Look at his own words to himself the moment the word from heaven came to him. It says, all this came upon King Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of the 12 months, he was walking about the royal palace of Babylon. The king spoke, saying, is not this great Babylon, the king I have built for a royal dwelling, for my mighty power and for the honor of my majesty? That really almost sums up his thinking about his empire, his city, his legacy. They found the ruins of the palace. We've looked at the Ishtar Gate, which has been reconstructed, I think, in the British Museum. Just tremendous architecture and beauty, and he took all the credit. They found bricks that says, I don't remember the actual quote, but this was made possible by Nebuchadnezzar, the great Babylon. Like, he was on the bricks. Like, he wanted no mistake to be made about it. Yes, you see all of this beauty. You see the grandeur. You see the magnificence. You're welcome. It's because of me. That was certainly his mindset. It says, while the word was still in the king's mouth, a voice fell from heaven. King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken. The kingdom has departed from you, and they shall drive you from men, and your dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make you eat grass like oxen, and 7 times shall pass over you, until you know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men, and gives it to whomever he chooses. That very hour, the word was fulfilled concerning Nebuchadnezzar. He became as a beast. Now, many have speculated, what does that mean? What actually happened to him? Did his biology change? Maybe. Not really exactly sure how much of that language is figurative, but certainly what happened to him and his mind and what he did was literal. There's an artist, William Blake's painting, his interpretation of what he might have looked like. It does make me think of a passage from the New Testament, though. In Romans, for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who suppress the truth in unrighteousness, because what may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, even his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were they thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made like corruptible man, and birds, and four-footed animals, and creeping things. Therefore God also gave them up to uncleanness, and the lust of their hearts to dishonor their bodies among themselves, who exchanged the truth of God for the lie, and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this reason, God gave them up to vile passions, for even their women exchanged the natural use for what is against nature. Likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust for one another, men with men committing what is shameful, and receiving in themselves the penalty of their error which was due. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a debased mind, to do those things which are not fitting, being filled with all unrighteousness, sexual immorality, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, evil-mindedness. They are whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, violent, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, undiscerning, untrustworthy, unloving, unforgiving, unmerciful, who, knowing the righteous judgment of God, that those who practice such things are deserving of death, not only do the same, but also approve of those who practice them. Is there messaging in our world today that says that we are merely animals? Yes. And it has been proclaimed for decades. We are just animals. There is no purpose and meaning to life. There is no supernatural. There is no God. We are just molecules in motion. Those emotions you feel, that's just a biological response to stimuli. Is it any wonder why we see people behaving just like animals? King Nebuchadnezzar, not giving thought to what was right or wrong, not giving thought to any authority above himself. Sounds pretty familiar. When you're told there's no purpose and meaning in life, when you're told that there is no real truth, it's just decided by the collective, by the society. What everybody agrees on, whatever is acceptable, that's what truth is. That's what right and wrong is. No wonder we see so many people behaving like that's true. Like there's no real truth, there's no real right or wrong, that they are just molecules in motion. And there's great pressure in our culture for you to behave like an animal, to feed your basest of natures, to pursue sexual promiscuity, to allow whatever appetite that seems to come from within to dictate your actions and the direction of your life. What it means to be human is distorted. What it means to be a man or a woman is totally confused. That you are the authority in your own life. That you judge everything based on how it makes you feel or how it lines up with your thoughts. When people think that way, there is no authority above them. They are the authority. It doesn't matter who you are, what you say. Certainly doesn't matter what this book says, because they sit in judgment on it. This is not the definition of sanity. This is insanity. It is irrational. The king says in verse 34 at the end of that period that his reason returned to him. What did he do when that happened? It says that he blessed the Most High and praised and honored him who lives forever. When he stopped behaving like an animal, when reason returned to him, he recognized the Most High, the one true God for who he is and his place in the world. And he blessed the Most High. That was rational. That was logical. And his kingdom was restored to him. And in verse 37, he says, "Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all of whose works are truth and his ways justice, and those who walk in pride he is able to put down." When his reason was restored, he no longer acted like an animal. What happens when people are proud? James tells us God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. We were talking about this, I don't know, maybe last week, just for a moment around the the dining room table. And I just love this image because I find like I need constant reminders. But if we had like, a few screens up on the wall, not this one, but screens up on the wall, and it would show the picture of the most humble people in our church at that moment in time. And let's say, my picture was on one of them, and I walk in the room, and the moment I see it, it would change to somebody else, right? Oh, yeah, I am pretty humble. Boom, it's somebody else, right? Because my sinful flesh is anything but humble and likes to think too much of itself. God resists the proud. I certainly don't want to find myself in a place where God is resisting me. That is not a good place to be resisted by the living God. We're told, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, and what? He will lift you up. And it's certainly that overarching principle we see in Daniel, that it's God who gives us our importance. It's God who gives us our value. Why? Why do we believe that humans are intrinsically valuable? Because they're made in the image of God. It's one of the reasons why, we take a stand against or for life. We say at the moment of conception, there is a human being. They are made in the image of God. They have value for who they are and the value that God gives them. So I want to humble myself, not to think badly of myself, but to think of myself less, right? To think of Him and how can I be a part of what He's doing? How can I be used of Him to be a blessing? How can I be used of Him to move His kingdom forward? We talked about Daniel and his friends and the fact that they were living in Babylon through no choice of their own, but they were not living for Babylon. They were living for another city. What city am I living for? Is it one that I'm trying to build an empire unto myself, or am I allowing God to give me any importance that I might have? Of course, Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom, he was told, was given to him by the living God. Any power, authority, wisdom, or knowledge that he possessed was given to him by the living God. It was a gift from him. But he thought not only did he do this in his own strength, but that it was all for his legacy, his honor, his majesty. So what had he done in thinking that? He had lost his awareness, if he ever had it, of God as the absolute and his place, Nebuchadnezzar's place in God's universe. And his senseless heart was darkened. And this happens today. When people, Romans says, who suppress the truth in unrighteousness, and like Nebuchadnezzar, says they see creation, and God shows to them his eternal power and Godhead. And yet they choose not to acknowledge that, and they suppress the truth. And they try to shut out his voice. And maybe you can look back in your life and think of times where you did this. But people can do that to such a point that God gives them over to a debased mind. God resists the proud but gives grace to the humble. And again, when Nebuchadnezzar's reason returned, not only did he no longer act like an animal, but he glorified God. It's been said that the most important thing about you is what you think about God. The most important thing about you is what you think about God. Now, to my sinful nature, I don't really like that, because there's certain things about me that I'm kind of proud of and I think are kind of special. The most important thing about me is what I think about God. Certainly, in the gospel, what we think about God in terms of the gospel, what we think about ourselves in relation to that, is the difference between spending eternity with our Savior, sins forgiven, no condemnation, or being forever separated by Him, forever separated from Him in a place called hell. So, in the gospel context, what we think about God is eternally important. But as a child of God, what we think about Him is also the most important thing about us. Because as a Christian, I still need to humble myself in the sight of the Lord. I still need to recognize Him as the absolute. I still have to walk in faith, trusting Him to guide my life, trusting Him for whatever plan He has for me. So in that regard, what I think about God, what you think about God, is the most important thing about you. Do we live in the reality that God is God and you're not Him? That He is the absolute and that He's good. He is trustworthy. He is faithful. God resists the proud but gives grace to the humble. Let's ask Him for help, and we'll also give thanks for lunch. God in heaven, we thank you once again for your word, and we thank you for recording this account with Nebuchadnezzar and how so strangely he was humbled. And we just pray that you would help us to keep you as the absolute in our lives and not ourselves. We do not want to be in a place where you resist us. We need your grace. We need your mercy every single day, and we're thankful for that. We just pray that you would help us. Help us to walk in light of the fact that you are the absolute, and it's to you that we have been freed to live for and to serve. So we just ask for your help in that. We think about the food that has been provided. We thank you for it, and just ask your blessing upon our time of fellowship. We give you our thanks. Amen.